barbarian horde from the epicenter of imagination. I am your main man. Today I return Monster Ecology within the Ring of Fire. We're delving into the saga book to look at one of the species prepared quite quickly away for catalyst play. We're talking about the Ferrum, forged in antiquity by the hammer of Tehul there in the underworld. The elder creator of stone, of iron, and of death breathed life into its creation and put them upon Kvegathale in those tunnels, in those mountains. And eventually they spilled forth into the world lit by the great sun that is Ahura Mazda. It was to have built the great city of Baal on the northern banks of the Red River, and many other settlements, strongholds, and citadels within the world of stone, within hills and within mountains, within the underworld itself. Yet what we see now is a derelict of what once existed. They are a sad shadow of a once mighty empire fallen at the hands of mismanagement and greed, to the Frayings, to the Vigishs, and to the humans through wars and wars and wars. Their great empire, their great kingdom has fallen. They have fallen as is their faith, for they have turned their back on Tehul, and they have turned their back on all divinities. The Ferrum grow long beards now to show their disgust and their disdain towards those divinities that abandoned them there in Rattleland when they were pushing the Freyan to near the brink of extinction in their wars that raged and lasted long cycles, when they thought they had victory. As they tell it, Tehul abandoned them. But why? We'll have to look into these pages to find those answers. But the Fraying, with their faith strong, began to grow back and push them out of the duchies of their country, all the way back to Baal. And then again, and those wars raged, and they were decimated in their population. And then the Vigish came, children of Hob Apophis, children of a god who was descended from Tehul, and it was not pleased what the Ferrum had done, turning their back on its progenitor, sending the Vigish in one of their first acts to announce their arrival into the world upon the Ferrum, bringing them into chains of steel, a substance that had not been seen before, viciously beating the Ferrum into submission, taking them as slaves, the ones they wanted, taking from their city what they desired, leaving it broken and standing ready as a place for those first humans to inhabit, to grow. As the Ferrum people thought that they would have the opportunity to dupe the humans, to make them a bolster, their population defenses, use them as not but a shield wall. And we see the humans there to the northern side, acquiring land in Baal, building and having Ferrum help them build. Well, those first humans were humble enough, but their population explodes as humans breed like vermin, and Ferrum breed much, much slower. So, as that period of time elapsed, the humans slowly began to renegotiate their original deal, and push until war came, and eventually the Ferrum were subjugated. The Ferrum have such disdain for divinities, they show it, as once was their custom for Tehul, to keep their beards completely shaved, to have clean shaven faces. And now, as a sign of disgust, they often will never ever shave, never cut their beards, many growing very, very long, showing their age, showing their disgust, their contempt, as their beards go even closer to the ground, for Tehul is under the ground, and they show him not their faces, but their beards covered up, a sign of loathing and disgust. And you could tell the Ferrum, who is a follower of divinity, for they keep themselves well groomed and shaved, where those who are contemptuous will grow their beards long. They are distrustful of the divinities, find them to be of no usefulness, and are one of the least pious people in all Kavega Thalover. No, it is not that they do not believe. It is that they hate. They hate with fire of anti-theism and loathing for that hammer that made them, that hammer that turned upon them. Though even in their DNA that hammer is etched. All of them understand how to use it, how to work iron, how to forge weapons, how to swing that hammer and split your pate down the middle. That is the destiny of the Ferrum. They are wonderful smiths, forgers of weapons and iron, forgers of tools, a species from the caverns deep in the world, but that has been able to exist out in the well-lit parts. They're also marked by their greed, a never-ending desire for gold, for gems, for the wonderful things of the world. A need to possess, to hoard, to have such things, to fill in those holes that exist within them, those holes of shame for the kingdom they once had, a kingdom that they have lost from battles that were not won. Though when they look back, and the Ferrum, if they can be characterized as anything, they are individuals that look back. They look back to a glorious day. They look back to battles won and sing songs in their ale halls of such things. Many of these halls now residing in what are essentially ghettos, full of poverty, disease, and crime, where they are crushed up against ogres and other species from their past, against poor, stupid, derelictish, bastard humans and other ne'er-do-wells. The Ferrum are individuals who look backwards, and this is their greatest problem, because it prevents them from being able to see a glorious future that is to come. Many sages list in their books that soon the Ferrum will be entered into those tomes dedicated to the dead. For Kavega Thale is a savage, unforgiving place, and there are many species whose names are etched only to be cautionary tales in books. They have been pushed off into oblivion. Many names. Many think the Ferrum, with their inability to adapt, as humans are adaptability incarnate, Ferrums are iron-minded and slow to change the way of their thoughts, slow to change and adapt to new environments, to new ways of doing things, slow to forget the names of their fathers and their fathers and their fathers and their fathers before them, and many generations going back still. They remember names, they remember songs, they remember an old classical way of doing things, so those first ways were the best ways. Still, they have changed from the ways of their divinity, for they are unforgiving. They are full of anger. They carry a chip around on their shoulder, and they are fast to exact that revenge on you. They loathe the Ferrum. They remember the wars well. They hate the humans, but know they often must obey them, for the public executions have been many. They find commonality and bond with ogres, and fear for Vigishes. They have an overriding hate for nearly all sorts of fairies, but fortunately for them, they have learned many tactics to bring to bear upon the face order and those species that come from it. They're excellent at battling their ancient sworn enemies and bringing iron to dream flesh. They desire to have more than they do. They have desperation. They have difficulty in keeping up with an ever-changing world. And in their role, it will be your responsibility to keep the old words alive, and perhaps look for new words to add into those songs.